Hi, I'm Molly. Today in this quantum theory video, we're taking a look at the mustard vintage VCA compressor, the red one. We'll be looking at how the vintage hardware models that it's inspired by work, the characteristics, and then have a listen to our VCA compressor. VCA compressors started to become popular in the 1970s, and there have been many popular designs over the years, including the DBX 160, the API 2500, and the SSL G series compressor, just to name a few. Of course, you can achieve VCA style compression with plugins, but all Digico Quantum consoles offer a vintage VCA compressor as part of the mustard processing strips for low latency native processing. In order to understand where VCA compressors are useful, let's first take a look at how the original units worked. VCA compressors, as their name suggests, make use of voltage-controlled amplifiers, VCAs, in order to compress the signal. Amplifying the signal might not sound productive when trying to compress it. Luckily, VCAs can also attenuate signals, and it's this property of VCAs that makes them suitable for compressors. The amplifier's gain is controlled by a control voltage. This control voltage signal is an RMS of the sidechain input. RMS, or root mean square, is essentially an average of the signal level. VCA compressors have non-linear gain reduction, but are typically very transparent. And since they are RMS compressors, they won't completely flatten the signal, which for transient signals like drums can be good for doing a little bit of smoothing without removing all dynamic range. Let's take a look at the controls. Like all mustard compressors, we have a mix control to blend between the uncompressed and the compressed signal for easy and simple parallel compression. The threshold is the level of the incoming signal where the compressor starts to act. The ratio is how much compression is applied once the threshold is passed. The gain control is the post-compression makeup gain, and the sidechain filters control the bandwidth of the signal triggering the compression. This is useful if you only want a particular part of the frequency range to trigger the compressor. You can also set the sidechain input to be different to the input signal. This is done by touching the sidechain source, selecting a signal, and then turning it on. Like many of the original VCA compressors, there are no attack and release time controls. These are fixed at relatively fast times, with an attack of around 10 milliseconds and a release of around 25 milliseconds. For a release time, this is considered to be fast, especially compared to other compressor types. VCA compressors are great for exciting drum channels, either individual channels or on the drum buses. Their characteristics make them good for taming and smoothing peaks, but without flattening everything in the signal. They are also relatively transparent unless driven hard, in which case they will start to colour the sound. Now, let's have a listen. If you've got some good quality headphones or in-ears, you might want to plug them in to really hear what's going on. For our first audio example, I've got an overhead channel here. When I turn the compressor on, listen to the snare in particular. Notice how it's extending the snare, but still preserving the initial transient. We can also hear the really quick release time on this. Now I'll turn it up so we can really hear the effects of it. I'll turn the threshold down, turn the gain up to compensate, and then turn the ratio up. Again, we can really hear the quick release time, but also, even though I've got so much compression, it's still quite clean, as opposed to other compressors that start to saturate here. For our second example, we've got a kick drum here. Let's have a listen with and without compression. First, without. Notice how with the VCA compressor, it's really tightening up the kick drum and cleaning it up as well. Now I'll turn it right up. You can hear that's giving us a really clicky kick drum sound here. But even though there's so much compression going on, it still sounds clean. I hope that's now given you a better understanding of how VCA compressors work and what they can be used for in your own mixing. Next time you're on a Quantum console, before booting up your plugin rack, make sure to check out our mustard compressors. Check out YouTube for more videos on our quantum processing options.